In this video, I'm going to take a look at some of the different atheistic subgroups that have been started or proposed at one time or another. The idea behind these groups is almost always to try and define a certain section of the atheist community by what they are rather than by what they are not, thus giving them something more solid upon which to build a community than simply lack of belief in gods. The first one I shall look at, the Brights. Labelling atheists as Brights is an idea often wrongly attributed to Daniel Dennett and Richard Dawkins. While they were two of its most enthusiastic supporters, it was actually founded by Minga Futrell and Paul Geisert in 2003. According to their website, a Bright is a person who has a naturalistic worldview. A Bright's worldview is free of supernatural and mystical elements. The ethics and actions of a Bright are based on a naturalistic worldview. Would I ever call myself a Bright? No. The reasons being, the name sounds horribly naff. This may seem like a trivial point to some, but when pitching an idea to someone, a poor name will see it fall at the first hurdle. If I were to identify myself as a Bright, I think most people would think I had joined some kind of enlightened New Age cult or something. The name is also appallingly arrogant, implying that somehow atheists are brighter than theists, something which is often not the case. Next up, Amazing Atheism. In 2008, following a spats with then-Christian, now-atheist biologist Don Exodus II, the Amazing Atheist announced that he felt like the likes of Dawkins were making atheism into something all too respectable, and that it was losing its dangerous appeal. To separate him and his from this herd, TJ proposed his own brand of atheism, imaginatively titled Amazing Atheism, the tenets of which basically involve behaving the way he does. Would I ever subscribe to Amazing Atheism? No, no, and thrice no. The name, much like the term Bright, is both naff-sounding and inaccurate. Given as the Amazing Atheist has responded to criticism with remarks such as, "I think we should give the guy who raped you a medal. I hope you fucking drown in rape semen, you ugly, mean-spirited cow." It includes a section in his book where he says, "Rape isn't fatal, so imagine my indignation when I saw a chat room called Rape Survivors. Is this supposed to impress me? Someone fucked you when you didn't want to be fucked, and you're amazed that you survived. Unless he used a chainsaw instead of his dick, what's the big deal?" Has a sociopathically insensitive attitude towards the suicidal, evidenced by comments such as, "Being a bully doesn't make you a monster, and being bullied doesn't make you a victim," and calling suicidal bullying victims weak. And of course, the Amanda Todd and Jacinta Saldana incidents. And then there's his obvious inability to manage his finances, his e-begging scams, his many failed projects. I could go on, of course, all day here, and still have not given enough reasons as to why TJ is in no way worthy of being followed by anybody with any common sense or morals. Moving on. Pearlism. An idea thought up by Thunderfoot, Pearl is an acronym for Physical Evidence and Reasoned Logic, essentially the basic principle of the scientific method. Religious claims consistently fail to provide physical evidence or use reasoned logic, hence the proposal of Pearl as a name for those who reject religious and other supernatural notions due to this failure. Would I call myself a Pearlist? No. As with the previous two, the name sounds naff. If I were to call myself a Pearlist, again, I believe most people would mistake this for some new agey cult. That's not to say I don't like the acronym, as a way of remembering the core principle of the scientific method. In that sense, it does its job, but as the name of a movement, not so much. Pearlism seems only to focus on the scientific and skeptical side of things, with little if anything to say about moral philosophy or social politics. Additionally, while I think Thunderfoot makes interesting and engaging science videos, I don't see him as a leader for a number of reasons, one of which is the aggressive manner in which he deals with his critics. His aggression is by no means as unpleasant as that of the Amazing Atheist. However, I was more than a bit disturbed recently to hear Thunderfoot endorsing the way in which TJ deals with his critics, even going so far as to suggest him as a suitable leader for the atheist community. Moving on. Atheism Plus. Those two words that are guaranteed to cause a shitstorm whenever uttered. Atheism Plus is the brainchild of Jen McCreight, though is often wrongly attributed as being the brainchild of one of its main advocates, P.Z. Myers. The basic tenet of Atheism Plus, much like other atheist subgroups, is to focus more on what atheists are rather than what they are not. To quote, We are Atheists Plus, we care about social justice. Atheist Plus, we support women's rights. Atheist Plus, we protest racism. Atheists Plus, we fight homophobia and transphobia. Atheists Plus, we use critical thinking and skepticism. So would I call myself an Atheist Plus? No. It's not that I don't agree with the notion that atheists should focus more on social issues, rather than simply resting on the laurels of having figured out there's probably no gods. But like with every example mentioned up until now, the name does not work for me. Atheism Plus sounds like an energy drink, or an insurance company, or possibly some kind of web browser. The name of a movement matters. Additionally, the way certain Atheists Plus, or Atheist Pluses, whatever the correct term is, respond to criticism doesn't sit right with me. There has been too much blocking of people for my liking and not enough responding to criticism. Open dialogue is an absolute must in any movement, and the reasons given by P.Z. Myers for his heavy-handed moderation in his exchange with Concordance, the True Poker and the Skeptical Heretic felt very weak to me. The last on my list. Secular Humanism. To quote the British Humanist Association, secular humanists advocate for a world where everyone lives cooperatively on the basis of shared human values, respect for human rights, and concern for future generations. We want non-religious people to be confident in living ethical and fulfilling lives on the basis of reason and humanity. We promote humanism, work on behalf of the non-religious, and support those who wish to live humanist lives, including through the provision of humanist ceremonies. We campaign for a secular state, challenge religious privilege, and promote equal treatment in law and policy of everyone, regardless of religion or belief. We offer humanist perspective in public debate, drawing on contemporary humanist thought and the worldwide humanist tradition. Would I call myself a secular humanist? I not only would, I have done for a long time. The name is good. It does exactly what it says on the tin. When I tell someone I am a secular humanist, I am making it quite clear that I have moral values not tethered to any religious scriptures or movements, but rather concerning the welfare of other human beings. As well as separating me from the religious, it also separates me from atheists who are cruel, irrational, selfish, bigoted, stupid, or anything else I find to be repugnant. Secular humanism is also a movement that has proven its sustainability, having been going for over a century. Captain Andy is a secular humanist.